Today on Cosy Art Club, we're going to be looking at one of the most underrated art supplies that you can get your hands on. It's the ballpoint pen, so stick around and see what we're going to be doing. Hello and welcome back to the Cosy Art Club on a Sunday, one of my favourite times of the week because I get to hang out with you guys and we get to make some art together. As I said at the beginning, we're going to be having a look at the ballpoint pen as an art form, or ballpoint pen work as an art form. I feel these guys are just so accessible. I think almost anybody can get hold of a piece of copy paper and a ballpoint pen and you're off and running, and that's all you need. Similarly can be said of a pencil and a piece of paper. There's the simple basic tools that you can use, but I think ballpoint pens bring an extra element that you can't get from a pencil. There's obviously lots of work that can be done with colour pencils and graphite pencils, etc., but I just love the texture and the permanency of the marks that you make that you get with a ballpoint pen that adds that extra dynamic to your piece of work. Anyway, I'm waffling on. So a ballpoint pen, what kind of ballpoint pens can you use? The answer is any. The ballpoint pen that you use is the one that you get on with, and that is down to your own personal choice. I can give you recommendations, the ones I've got that I have and use and love, but in the end it's down to you, what you have on hand or that you can get hold of, and what feels right to you to use. So I'm just going to take you through the ones I've got. These are not all of them, by the way. I've got a heck ton of ballpoint pens in all different colours, different iterations, different brands, etc. But I'll take you through the ones I've got and tell you about them. In this little selection here, I've got a fair old few that I can talk about. So the first one, my first and number one on my list recommendation is the Bic Crystal. The Bic Crystal is like your standard pen. This one is slightly thicker, so it's 1.6 millimeters, whereas your standard ballpoint pen is probably a little less than that. This is a lot kind of thicker of a ballpoint. Can you see it's kind of thick on the end there? Let me compare it to another one. So you can see the ball on the end, you've got more ink that can come out and a bigger roller ball. That's really the basic difference between that. So it kind of depends whether you like working with a thicker pen or not. But these are all Bic Crystal pens. I've got a whole bag of them here. I've got a whole box of them here because I've got different colours in different sets and things. Yeah, I am that person who wants all the colours. So, and they're really cheap to get hold of. I'm sure anywhere in your household you could find a biro, what we call in the UK a biro or a ballpoint pen. So you could have your standard colours, which would be, I don't know, where's my black ballpoint pen gone? You know what? The most used ballpoint pen. No, I haven't actually got one in. I have got one in here. Let me grab one of these out. There we go. That would be your standard teacher's lineup, wouldn't it? You have a blue, a black, a red and a green. And those, my friend, will get you very far in your ballpoint pen journey. So you can get those in different varieties, different makes, etc. But those could be your basic. Now, I like to be a little bit different just because I'm a weirdo, and I just wanted to go with replacing that one with like a lighter blue, replacing my red with a pink. I love the Bic pink pens. There's something about them. I don't know why. I just like those. And I'm going to throw in another one here, which is my absolute love. This fluorescent yellow. It's a Bic fluorescent yellow, 1.6. Love their fluorescence. And those are my three that I've been creating with. I'll show you a page where I've actually used those in a minute. But it's all down to personal choice is what I'm saying. But as I say, Bic are my number one. Another top and going up there pen is the Inkjoy. The Papermate Inkjoy. It's just a stick Inkjoy. You can also get the ones with the clicky Papermate Inkjoy. Great. Perfect. They are not 1.6, they're just one. So they are a kind of a smaller ballpoint and also great as well. The ink in the Inkjoy is lovely to use. The ink I didn't mention in the Bic pens is an oil-based ink, which means that once it's down and left for a bit, it's waterproof. That's another thing you want to test with your ballpoint pens. If waterproof is going to be an issue for you, it's not necessarily going to be an issue for you, but if it is going to be an issue, you can test it just by running a little bit of water over them to see if it moves or if it stays in place or whatever, just to see what kind of an ink you've got in your ballpoint pen. I'm waffling again. Another one is the Staedtler. These are stick ballpoint pens by Staedtler. They work equally as well. Nice pens to work with. Those are my three of choice. I also have these random ones. Now, I went to my local stationer's a couple of years ago and bought a huge set. These are kind of unnamed, that's not one of them. Unnamed brand. I think there's about 24 of them in a pack. They're kind of like weirdly, some of them are weirdly fluorescent cases on them. But I like that too. I think the set was something stupid like £3 or £4 for 24 of these, and they are like generic biros but no name. They work well as well. So it is a case of find out what you've got and just use what's available to you. So we want to keep this as easy and as simple to access as possible. Right, so you've sorted out what kind of pens you want, tested them all, see if they work for you. Now you want to find something to draw on, and I'm going to put out a really simple suggestion: copy paper. Copy paper is smooth, and if you get one with a higher GSM to it, it is a little bit more forgiving of like putting lots of layers on, if you know what I mean, because it will support a lot of layers because it's a higher GSM. So if you got yourself like a ream of copy paper, which you can get fairly cheaply, then you know you've got like a stack of paper that you can go out and just enjoy. If you are a sketchbook person and you like working in sketchbooks, as I also do, I do both. But one of my recommendations is this, which is the Leuchtturm 1917, but it's the sketchbook. It's not the kind of paper that you've got in your bullet journals. It's purely a sketchbook. I don't know if it's got a thing in the back here. Sometimes I put the thing that comes off them in the back. It doesn't look like I have on this occasion, but it's really thick paper. So look, it's kind of like in between paper and a card. It's I think it's about 150 GSM or something. Really thick, great sketchbook paper because it's very smooth. And I'm saying that smooth is the thing you're looking for. You're looking for a smooth surface because ballpoint pens work best on a smooth surface. So that, the Leuchtturm, and the other one I recommend is, because these are the ones I've used. I can only recommend things that I've used. Try whatever, you know. It's a Talon's Art creation. So that's probably just a little bit smaller than my Leuchtturm, but that is good too. Difference between them is instead of being very white, the paper is kind of like an off-white creamy colour. That might appeal to you. It might be something you don't like. I quite like it because it takes away the brightness of the white and gives me another surface to work on. But those two I recommend highly. You can get these in different sizes of sketchbook if you like working in a sketchbook. Obviously, other things that you could use as a loose paper would be Bristol paper, Bristol board or whatever they call it. That is smooth, nice and thick, takes ballpoint pen really well. I've got this Bristol board sketch tile. It's probably just a bit thicker than the Leuchtturm paper. So anything like Bristol board is white Bristol board with a light surface. This is one I got in a scrawler box. I got another pad of this because I like it so much. Bright white again, but obviously really nice surface to work on with your ballpoint pens. So lots of options there, but also your own thing that you have. So if you've got something that works, use that. Don't go out and buy something specific for this unless you really want to. That is down to your choice, but simple copy paper will do you go miles for you to work on. While I've got my sketchbook out, I'll show you a little bit of ballpoint pen work that I've been doing recently. I was inspired by our lovely group member Claire, who is working on iCAD with a few of us that are in the group as well. We're all kind of doing our iCADs and posting them in the group. And Claire posted this most fantastic elephant. He was done in scribble. I don't know if it was ballpoint pen or not, but that's what set me off on the mindset of ballpoint pens. He was lovely. She'd managed to capture him perfectly, this elephant, in just a scribble. And I thought, that is genius. She got the whole expression and everything down to a T. It looked absolutely beautiful. So set me off. My brain went off down a rabbit hole again and thought about all the times I've really enjoyed using ballpoint pen. And as I say, it's one of those supplies that it's so in your face, isn't it? It's around everywhere. There's always a ballpoint pen hanging around somewhere. And it tends to get forgotten as an art supply. And I think it can really, really do a great job for when you're in the mood for creating art. So the first thing I did was I went and did this scribble monster. He started off just as a scribble and then ended up as a scribble monster. As all I wanted to do with this was just to play with my ballpoint pens and all the colours. So everything got thrown in this piece and became this monster with his favourite snack of these mushrooms. This is what he loves. I've got a whole backstory to him. If you go on Instagram, you can go and read about it. But purely out of scribbles and then just sort of defining the lines with scribbled darker ballpoint pen is the way I went with that one. Also in the background we've got some tempera crayon. You know, the kids' crayons that we've been using. Works like a dream as a background, also works as a surface for ballpoint pen to go on because it works on, it's very smooth when it's dried, there's no residue, it doesn't pick up in your ballpoint pen, so it's a perfect surface if you want to change the colour of your paper. Next thing I did was this mushroom. So I kind of refined my colours down to, I've got some browns and I've got some reds and I've got a few greens here as well, a few different greens to get some like foliage and stuff going on in the background. And again, this was scribble ballpoint. Obviously trying to vary it, not too successfully in areas, but trying to vary it to get shades and things in. Something I need to work on is my shading techniques, which I'm going to go through in a minute. That's what I'm going to be working on. So that was the next thing I did. Then I decided I wanted to do a bear. And this bear is from my imagination. I didn't use a reference. I was kind of just using my imagination, which is why the ear's slightly off there. But I'm bearing, you know, he could have his ear there if he wanted to. He's tilted it back because he's listening for things in the forest. That's what my story is anyway. So for this one again, I went down to a palette of browns, oranges. I've got some black in there as well, just to define the darker areas. and some yellow, a little bit of yellow. So that kind of was my palette for this particular bear. And then I did another little bear at the bottom on the page there. I was going to do a whole spread of bears, but then I got taken over by trying out shading techniques and then testing out my colour palette that I want to try and use to create some pieces. So talking of the colour palette, your traditional one that I showed you, which is like the traditional teacher's palette of those colours, this could equally work as well in these. So, but my one, as I said, I am going with, I've lost my pen. Anyway, I'm going with kind of, where's my pink? That kind of a setup, really. Ah, there's my blue there. So not that one, it was that one. So I'm going to go with those and then a black as well. That's going to be my setup for just playing around with the ballpoint pens. So you can see my little testers down here. I've got the blue, the pink and the yellow. Those three there, and then I've got combinations of to see what other colours I can get. So I could get kind of like an orangey red there. I can manage to get a green by mixing the blue and the yellow together. So you can overlay the colours together to get another colour, which is useful to know. And also you can do that in your blending within the pieces that you're doing. So I did these weird little monsters as well. So those are my experimentations so far. Now, as this is a Cosy Art club, and there's not just me in this club, I'm hoping, I'm going to throw out a challenge to you to grab some ballpoint pens and have a go at creating your own ballpoint creature, animal, whatever you want to try and do. You could try and do a landscape, that would be awesome. Just play with your ballpoint pens and some nice smooth paper, and then let's compare and contrast and see what we've got and see what works and what doesn't. I want you to have a go, and I'd love to see them if you want to post them in the Facebook group as well, if you've had a go and you want to show me what you've done, and everybody else can have a look as well, and we can all talk together about what we think worked, what didn't work. Generally just have a little conversation about it, because I think this is such a really easy and cheap way to get into art. Obviously you can use pencils, but I think that the pens bring a little something extra. So in the Facebook group I have put a practice sheet. So it's a ballpoint pen practice sheet, so you can practice your mark making and your shading techniques. It's a printable, it's a PDF, and it's in the files section of the Cool Kooky Creatures group. It's not my artist page. People get a little bit confused. It is the group page, and that's where you'll find this in the file section to have a little play with. And let's have a little go now, shall we? Let's have a little go now. Going to find something to rest on, because you don't want to be doing it onto some surface. If you do ballpoint pen work on a surface, you'll pick up the surface texture as well. So it's nice to have like a wad of paper or whatever underneath. And I'm just going to go with the shading. I'm going to use an actual blue biro, I think, for this one. So for my techniques, I'm going to do hatching. I'm going to do cross hatching. I'm going to do scribbling. I don't know what the fourth one's going to be. But I'm going to do a row of each. So hatching wise, hatching is when you go in one direction with your pen. You kind of going to kind of try and shade this lightly on the one side and underneath, and just generally over the top. So hatching is the one way. So I would say that's maybe a light hatching. With a ballpoint pen, you also need to have a little piece of paper or a cloth that you can wipe the end of your pen with, because there does get to be a build-up in there. So it is a given that you're going to need something just to wipe that off, to clear it off with, if you feel like it's getting too built up. So that's a light hatching. Let's go and see if we can make that look darker. The way you make things look darker is putting them close together. I've got something underneath there that's making that line. Let's move that around slightly. So the closer together your hatched lines are, the darker it will be. So if you put them really close together, if you move them farther apart, you're going to get a lighter thing. Let's take you in a little further. So close together. I don't want it to be too dark, because otherwise I won't be able to get the values down below. But you can also go in on the bottom here. Oh, I know what that last one can be now. So you can see that's lighter, that's darker. Let's see if we can get even darker. You can get darker with pressure. You can get darker with layering. So whichever way you want to go, you can shade. You can see it's slightly dark. I'm going to try and darken it at these end bits here. Just using the pressure of the pen and layers. See if I can get this really dark. So you can do lots and lots of layers on top of each other. Like so. So we've gone from, so we've got a light, we've got a medium, and we've got a dark. Cross hatching is when you go across. You see, I've got a lumpy, that's what I should have checked for before I went down. Doesn't matter. Cross hatching is when you go that way and you go that way as well. So you're kind of doing a crossover. So I'm trying to do a light cross hatch on this one. Let's just take it back. So you're going two ways to get like that grid formation. I'm going to try and do this as a light one. This is why it's good to have a little practice. You can get handle on your pen, see how many blobs it puts out for you. So that is my cross hatching. See, just need to wipe it off occasionally to get rid of the blobby ink that gathers. Some pens blob more than others. Some colours blob more than others. It depends on the ink. So cross hatching, and we're going to go down those. I'm not going to put you through, put you through the pain of watching me go through all these iterations of it. But obviously, the darker and the more layers you put in, and the closer together the lines, the darker you're going to get your shading. Scribbling speaks for itself. So the lighter apart, I just kind of scribble in circles. You can go all weird and way if you want to. That's another way of, so that's light. And if I wanted it to be darker, I could go in darker with my scribbling, do more scribbles, gone outside the lines there. With your pen, like so. So I would say that's probably medium-y, and then obviously the more dark you get, the more scribbles you have to do to get that dark shading going on. I'm just going to do a part of this so that you can see how dark it can get like so. I'm going to go all the way down to bottom. The fourth one I thought of is contour lines. So you probably use contour lines when you're trying to show the shape of something. So you're kind of like curving things around. So it's like a curvy. So for this sphere, if I was going to call it a sphere, then I'd want to make it curved. I'm kind of doing fur here, but it's also good for that as well. And obviously the closer together the lines go, you know, the darker you will get your art to be, or the shading to be. So it's a good idea to print off a few of these, have a go, practice, see what you can do, playing around with your ballpoint pen. If you've not used it as an art supply before, it's a good time just to learn a little bit about how it will work. So in the mark making section, try out different ways of filling in a shape. So for example, I'm gonna section this one off into like 4 bars like so, and then I'm gonna do some lines just across. You can also practice how light you can make your line. Literally, you could just whisper it across just to get a really light line. It's just trying to see what you can get from your pen, obviously wiping off the end of it as well. Then in the next one, I could go like more closer together and more pressure on my pen to get these marks. So you can get really light pressure, you can get really dark pressure. And then with layering, you can get like a really dark area there, look. Really cool. Then you can go lines far apart. So you're adding in some shading, but your lines are farther apart. And then you could go, it's just practice, isn't it? It's just practice of getting things to move around for you. So for the next one, I could do a row of squiggles like so, and then underneath do another row of squiggles and fill in my whole space just by squiggling. And what you're trying to do for this is it also gets your hand moving, which is really important if you've not done it before and you've got some kind of specific that you want to do, which is kind of think of a different pattern for each of the squares to get you some mark making going on. And it's play, isn't it? It's playing around to see what you can do. You're testing it. It's kind of like you're an experimental scientist. You're testing what each thing can do. So for this one, I want to go really dark and then come out lighter. So I'm going dark, coming to wipe my pen off a bit, coming to light, further apart, and the lighter my touch, and then to get like a shine in the middle, it just helps if you come from both angles and leave a nice wide space in the middle so they don't cross over. Kind of gives you a shiny effect, maybe. And then obviously going back out again. And then coming to it darker. So going from a medium to a dark. And that's just with like a hatching technique, isn't it? Then you could try some random dots or random slashes of marks and just see what happens with those. Try and get them going from dark to light. This is really handy if you're doing like fur techniques or short fur on animals or however you want that to go. But you could continue with that. Take it down the page. Another good one is kind of like lines. So practice your line drawing. So I'm going to try and do a square spiral. That's a contradiction in terms, but you know what I mean. So it's practicing your lines within that square. Obviously I've gone a bit weird and way with that one, but that's what that sheet is for. Really handily for kind of putting together your idea of different mark making techniques. You could also use these boxes to see what it's like when you combine colours. So if I was wanting to try and combine that with a yellow, you can see what kind of colours I can get. So that turns out slightly greenish. So you're getting the mix of the yellow going one way and the blue going the other way. So not only can it be your mark making, but it's also like it could be testing out your colours, seeing which ones you like to combine. This is why I like this blue. It's a lighter blue. And then if I go in with my yellow, can you see that you kind of get a green, and it's more prominent. I like that rather than the darker green, personally. I mean, obviously I could just go in with a green pen, really. I've got one here. And see how that goes over the blue. So you can see how you can get the combinations of the cross hatching, etc. And it's just lovely. Love it. And also, if you do an undercolour, with like the green there, maybe a bit of yellow there, and then I'm gonna go in with this pink. She said, I'm gonna go in with a pink. The pink's decided it doesn't want to. There we go. And what kind of a texture you can get, and you can go back over that with more yellow. So you get like an orangey colour coming out over that pink. Really nice. Shaking the camera, sorry. So anyway, that's a little practice sheet, as I say, in the Facebook group that you can download and have a go at before you start on your main piece. Now, I have got a selection of books that you might be interested in. Obviously, I tend to buy books that match my subject, so I'll just go through some books that might be interesting to you if you wanted to take this further. Here's a selection of books that I've got. This is my recent one that I got a couple of weeks ago, and it's called Me and My Ballpoint Pen. It is by Jennifer Mullen, who I do believe has a YouTube channel, so you can check that out as well. And it's Discover Art Beyond the Doodle. So I like this one because it has a lot of like abstract work in it. So let's have a look at the contents page. So you've got your basics, shading, etc. Drawing abstractly, that's something that I love. Obviously, I do like a bit of abstract drawing. And you've got texture and pattern, themes, abstract inspiration. Abstract from shadows is a really cool one because it's like taking shadows and drawing around them and such. But let's have a little delve. So all the different tools and materials that she recommends. Obviously, different papers and things. And then just delving in, we've got mixed media watercolour. So this is the thing I was saying about testing if your ballpoint pens are waterproof. Some of the ink inside them is oil-based, in which case it will be waterproof when it's dry, which means that it will resist watercolour or water itself or any other water medium that you want to put over the top of it. So that's something you can test with your pens to see whether they are waterproof when they're dry. how to draw braids and feathers and different techniques for using acrylic ink as a base to draw on top of. Really fabulous. Really, really good book. It's not too big a book as well, so you can take this out and about with you. It's not much bigger than my sketchbook, to be honest. So grab my sketchbook. So you can see it's about the same size as my sketchbook, so I could easily whack those two in my bag and take this out and about if I wanted to try some of the exercise in there. So that is a recommended one. So that's Jennifer Mullen, Me and My Ballpoint Pen. The next one is Sarah Skeet. This came out a while ago. Now, Sarah Skeet I know from felt books. I've got some felt books by Sarah Skeet. Yeah, this is 2017. This book comes in 2 iterations. So it's got this one. This is a ballpoint doodle book. And there is another one called 3 Colour Doodle something. They are both the same book. So don't get taken in and buy both of them, because they are both the same book with 2 different titles. I'll see if I can find a picture of the other one as well and put it up at the end. This is like a little handbook. So if you want a book to work into, this is probably a good one to go for. So it's like doodling, but it's also taking you through different textures and things. And you get lots of pages to practice. So you've got, similarly to my sheet that I did for you, you've got a thing where you can practice hatching, scumbling and stippling, etc. And different areas so you can copy. So you can see that little animal that I did in my book. I took from Sarah's book here to try out. And then you get loads of like pages in there. So if you just wanted to take out one book rather than take out paper and a book to practice with, just take out this one book. So this is great for that. Lots of pages with instruction and different ideas that you can use, and different kinds of paper. So you've got square paper and dotty paper and lettering. So that's a good one for that. Next one I've got, actually, I'm going to save that one till last. So we've got How to Draw with a Ballpoint Pen. This is by Gecko Keck. And this is a lovely instructional book. I've had this for a few years, but this came out in 2017. So you've got contents here, how to do portraiture, different scraps of paper that you can use. Obviously, again, you're going to go through some techniques, shading techniques. You've got the ballpoint pen carpet, the pen carpet where you're practicing all the different tiles, different kinds of ways of filling it in. The circles that you can practice with techniques in. Drawings, they're kind of like a fish. I love this idea. So you've got a fish and then you separate it out into different areas and then fill it all in using your ballpoint pen. Now on this occasion, it's just the one ballpoint pen. So it's one pen, one colour, lots of shapes. Getting different textures with your ballpoint pen. I love this guy, this hamster. Different kinds of lines. As I say, this is a really good one. I like this book a lot. And then kind of going on to flowers, abstract work, comic book work. If you're interested in the Linda Barry stuff that we were doing a couple of weeks back, this is a good one for that as well. So how to do your stories in that. I love that. The Attack of the Dust Mites. Also architecture, great getting sketches on that. An abstract diary. Really, really lovely book to look at, and lots of like inspiration in the back as well. So that is How to Draw with a Ballpoint Pen by Gecko Keck. So show you the name at the bottom there, Gecko Keck. And the last one, this is a book I've had for a while again. This is by Matt Roter. I think he's got another book on ballpoint art out as well, I'm not sure. But this was published in 2016. And This is really in depth as using it as an art supply. How lovely is that cow? So he used other artists' pictures in here to show you the different techniques of drawing on toned paper, different exercises that you can do. Featured artists in here and how they use ballpoint pen in their work. Really cool. Lots of different ideas, lots of inspiration, lots of other artists to look at so that you can have a play and find out what you like and what you don't like. I love all those animals. Now, there is one point with ballpoint art that I will point out to you, is that ballpoint ink is not generally known to be super light fast. So I've got some suggestions. If you were thinking of framing a piece of your work or whatever, I would suggest that you make a print of your drawing, and that way that will then be a display piece, and just keep your other one away from very direct light. And you don't want direct light to be hitting many pieces of artwork, to be honest, but especially so for ballpoint art. Obviously it lasts for a certain amount of time. Your books, if they're covered up, will last for ages if they've not got light source on them. It's like a bit like the tempera paint sticks. They're not greatly light fast. Some are better than others. Obviously the fluorescent ones are not going to last as long. Just pointing that out to you, just in case you want to do a beautiful piece and you want to preserve it but also display it. I would suggest that you take a print of it or get a print made of it so that you could then frame the print and keep your original artwork safe from too many UV lights. The other thing you can do is to spray your piece with a UV varnish or frame it under a UV frame where the acrylic or the glass of the frame it's got a UV coating on it to protect your artwork. In all the cases, I would suggest that you don't frame it and put it in direct sunlight. Anyway, that's a lot for you to be going on with, isn't it? You've got a lot of things to have a little look at for something as simple as a beautiful little Bic ballpoint pen. So something that you can easily access, have a go with, and I would really love throwing out this challenge, really love to see what you can do with a ballpoint pen in whichever form you want to try and use it, whichever landscape, portraiture, whatever. If you search on YouTube, you'll find some ballpoint pen artists who are absolutely phenomenal. Likewise on Instagram, they just use a ballpoint pen to create, and I think it's a really simple tool, really accessible, that's very portable. Anyway, that's enough from me for this week. I hope you've enjoyed this little delve into the ballpoint pens and let's see what we can all come up with. We can probably go on with this for the rest of the month and see what else we can do. So if you do make something, you want to show it off, post it in the Facebook group so we can all have a little look. That's all from me for now. I'll be back here very soon with something else. Bye for now.